When people talk about business online, they usually talk about the wins. They talk about the revenue numbers, growth, scaling, all the success stories. Only the good parts. It always sounds clean and smooth, like somebody just had a smart idea, worked hard for a little bit, and then suddenly everything worked out. But that's not actually how business feels when you're living through it. Most of the real lessons actually come from the mistakes, and I've made a lot of them, which is why we're making this video. I'm glad you guys tuned in. Some of them were small mistakes that cost just a little bit of time. Some of them maybe cost opportunities. And a few of them were the kind of mistakes where you just sit back after everything settles and realize that decision just cost you a ridiculous amount of money. And we're talking six figures, 100,000 plus dollar deals lost, profit lost, on some of the mistakes that I made. Over the years, those mistakes easily added up to around $500,000, maybe even $1 million at this point. And it wasn't in one moment, not one big disaster, but just a series of decisions that seemed small at the time but ended up being expensive lessons. Now, just sitting here dwelling, it's probably more than $1 million even, which is just crazy. But anyways, in this video, I want to talk about 10 of the mistakes that I made. Not because I enjoy reliving them, but because if you're trying to build something, whether it's a business, a side hustle, or even just your first way of making money online, these are the kinds of traps that almost everybody falls into. And I want you guys to basically not make the same mistakes that I did. And if you could even avoid a few of them, you're going to save yourself a lot of time, stress, and money. Mistake number one, waiting too long to start. One of the first mistakes I made wasn't actually in business itself, it was before I even started. I spent way too much time just thinking. You're watching videos, reading advice, trying to find the perfect strategy. I wanted the perfect plan before I made a move, but business doesn't work like that. It took me a long time to figure it out, but it just doesn't work like that. The truth is, the first thing you probably start or create, it's not going to be the thing that works, and you're gonna want it to be like the thing, but you're gonna fail like 10 or 20 or maybe even 50 times before you actually get to the thing that makes you a shitload of money. The second thing might not work either. It's tough to say, it's different for everybody, but what's important to know is that you figure things out through action, not planning. Like, looking back, I probably could have started like 2 or 3 years earlier if I stopped trying to just feel ready. And listen, those years matter because time is the most valuable resource in business. It's not money, it's time. The earlier you start learning, the earlier that you start improving. The people who end up winning usually aren't the smartest in the room either. They're the ones who simply started earlier and just stayed in the game longer. I have another video talking about 7 business lessons that helped me make my first million, and lesson 7 was that long-term thinking always wins. So that is a very important video to watch after you're done watching this one, but figured I'd make that mention. Mistake number 2 is trying to do everything alone. And boy, oh boy, do I relate hard to this one, which is why I'm putting it early in the video before you guys click off. But I promise you, if you stick all the way through the end, you are going to learn so much stuff that you will not be learning on other videos because I'm giving so much free game. In the beginning, I tried to do everything by myself. Every task, every problem, every decision, because I had a hard time trusting that somebody else could do it better than me. Part of it was, that trust element where I just think other people don't care about the work the same way that I did. But another part of it maybe was just like control, because when you're building something, it's hard to just like let go of pieces, especially if you're starting out all by yourself and you don't have a friend or a business partner or anything like that. But what happens with that mentality and that strategy is eventually you hit a wall. There are only so many hours in a day. If you're the one that's answering every message, solving every problem, running every system, eventually the business just stops growing because everything depends on you. The moment that things really started improving was when I began working with a small team of people I trusted. That started with my brother. These were also people who were actually better than me at certain things. Like, my brother is significantly better on the operation side, whereas I am more like the CEO and I have the vision for the company. But you'll find that when you actually start trusting people to take over responsibilities and delegating tasks, you'll find that the business will go just a lot further and faster. And a good quote on this is that if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And the only way to do that is with a team. Ultimately, the goal also isn't to do everything. The goal is to build systems and just surround yourself with the right people. Mistake number three is, oh man, I relate to this one. You know what? Now as I'm just jotting down all these mistakes, these really cost me so much money and it's insane. Chasing too many ideas. If you're someone who likes business, you probably have ideas constantly. If you're an entrepreneur, you're always coming up with new stuff, new opportunities, new markets, new strategies, new projects. Like you will just be spending the whole day just thinking about stuff. And at first, it feels very exciting because every idea that you have feels like it could be the one that changes everything. But there's just one problem with that mindset: focus disappears. Some of my biggest progress in business came from doing something just incredibly boring, committing to one direction, and sticking with it long enough for it to work. And on that note, like 80% of your results will come from 20% of the work that you're doing. Okay. A lot of businesses fail not because the idea was bad, but because the person running it just kept switching directions before anything had time to grow. And that's just really, really important. One focused business beats 10 half built ideas. Focus is what multiplies your results. Mistake number four: ignoring marketing. This is something that surprised me early on because you could build something amazing, a great service, a great product, something that genuinely helps people, and it still won't matter if nobody knows that it exists. Attention is one of the most valuable currencies in business. I've made another video discussing this as well. That's why marketing matters. That's why personal brands matter. That's why platforms like YouTube matter. Because if you could get that attention and build the trust, your opportunities just multiply. And if nobody knows that you exist, even if you're the best, your ideas will just struggle to survive. And I feel like I'm a pretty knowledgeable guy, becoming a self made millionaire at the age of 20, because I just made so many more mistakes than people. And that's only because I started at still a pretty young age. And now I want to share that knowledge with you guys. And it doesn't matter how good your product or service is. Again, if nobody knows it exists, that's why attention is so important. Moving on to mistake number five. This one is the exact opposite of thinking long term. It's actually thinking short term, because in the beginning, I was actually very obsessed with quick results. I wanted quick money. What's the fastest way to make, $1,000, $10,000? Quick wins, quick progress. But the longer that you stay in business, the more obvious that something becomes. And that is that the biggest rewards go to people who stay consistent long enough for their efforts to compound. And this is so important because most people underestimate what 5 years of consistent effort could do. Everybody wants to be a millionaire in 90 days. And I'm sorry, if you're watching this video and you think you're going to be a millionaire in 90 days, this isn't for you. Go buy a course and get scammed. They overestimate what they could, accomplish in a month, 90 days, etc. It just takes such a long time. And I think that's the beauty of it, is that most people are going to quit before they see any results. But if you're crazy enough to stick with it, you'll win in the end. Short-term thinking chases quick money, whereas long-term thinking builds real wealth. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm trying to build real wealth, which is why I always go with the long-term thinking. Mistake number six: underestimating discipline. This is a good one because this comes down to the fundamentals, okay? There are days where the business will feel exciting. You're solving problems, things are growing, opportunities are appearing. But then there will be days, not even days, I'm going to say weeks. There will be weeks where nothing seems to work. Problems are stacking up. Your progress is slowing down. You question whether you're doing the right thing. And those are the days where the discipline matters. Because motivation is what gets you started, but discipline is what's going to carry you through the boring and the frustrating and the stressful parts. Motivation gets you started. I hope you guys watch this video. You take something away from it. If you haven't started, maybe you get the motivation to get started. But discipline is what is going to keep things moving when your motivation disappears. Because look, at the end of the day, we're all human. See, you're not going to be motivated every single day. Nobody does. Mistake number seven: not learning fast enough. Early on, I sometimes repeated the same mistakes because I didn't take the time to really analyze what went wrong in my business. But every single mistake contains information. Why didn't that work? What could I be improving on? What would I do differently next time? And taking the time to reflect and analyze is super important. The faster that you learn from mistakes, the faster that you're going to improve. And mistakes are expensive if you repeat them, but they're extremely valuable if you learn from them quickly. So one of my greatest pieces of advice is don't count it as a loss. Treat everything as a lesson. That is my motto in life. It is either a win or it's a lesson. There is no losing. Because in moments where you are experiencing failure, there's always a lesson behind that failure, and that is what you guys need to be taking away. So again, I want to drill this into your guys' brains because has been so impactful in my life. You either win or you have a lesson. That's it. There is no losing. You need to have that confidence and that belief that you could win because it starts with you. Before anybody else believes in you, you have to start believing in yourself. My final thoughts here is that if you're trying to build something, mistakes are a part of the process, okay? You just have to accept that. You're going to make bad decisions sometimes. You're going to lose money when you start that business. And you're going to learn lessons the hard way. But that is normal. I want you guys to understand that that is entirely normal. If you stay in the game long enough, your lessons will compound. The things that once confused you will start making sense. The things that once felt risky are going to start feeling normal, and it just takes time. Eventually, you realize those mistakes were just the price of learning something valuable. And now, guys, if you are someone trying to build something bigger with your life, whether it's business, a skill, or a new direction, you're in the right place. Welcome to my channel. This is Mind of G. We're just getting started here. Hopefully, you guys took away. Let me know in the comment section if any of these mistakes relate to you or if you guys have your own experiences. I'd love to hear everyone's story. Make sure you're subscribed, liking the videos. Seeing that growth on the channel also keeps me more motivated to just make more content, help as many people as I can. Appreciate you guys for all the support up until this point, and we will catch you here on the next one.